Hello and welcome to this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest for the week of January 20th, 2025. My name is Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧, and I would love to share with you our theme for this year. And it is Illumination Revelation, where we talk about the yin and the yang, the dark and the light, and how we don't necessarily have to shun one in order to play in the other. And most likely, if you are following my channel, you are a light worker or don't even know that you're a light worker, desiring to create heaven on earth or co-create it with those of us sensitive souls who have that same mission and goal as well. So if that's you, yay! And if it's not you, that's okay too. We honor where you are, wherever you are. And by the way, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and perhaps the notification bell if you'd like more inspiration through videos. And then if you do like this video, would appreciate a thumbs up and also a share as well. Okay, so our topic this week, we are going to delve into the spiritual. So we have our TOLPAKAN healing model, and that is, let's just say, a very common way that we look at things that are available for healing. Now, in this context, we're looking at the different aspects of life. Sometimes we'll look at something physical or biological, like a toxin. We haven't gotten there yet this year. But then there's like mental, so beliefs, subconscious patterns. Then there's emotional, like basically emotional imprints or energies. Then there is energetic, which is like kind of like the energy blueprint behind something, and it could be even an energy blueprint of part of our body. So that goes into a lot of different realms. Most people are more or less familiar with the idea of energy, right? And in some way, shape, form, we can say, well, it's all energy. We're just kind of compartmentalizing for the purposes of teaching and understanding some of these concepts. And then there's spiritual, and then there's dimensional. Now, this week's topic has to do with the spiritual realm. Now, last week we talked about wisdom not equating to age, because that's a belief that the older you are, the wiser you are, and therefore if you're younger, you can't be wise. Okay. And I think many of us have figured it out that, wow, that actually isn't true. Now, this week, we're also talking about wisdom as well. But in this case, we're talking about kind of a mythology. So in spiritual circles, there is a mythology that if you are spiritually enlightened or wise, that your spiritual gifts will be greater. So that means that if we are aspiring to have unlock our grandest spiritual powers, whether that be our clairvoyance, the ability to see beyond the quote-unquote physical, clairaudience, the ability to hear guidance and inner wisdom through sound, voice, or word, clairsentience, the ability to feel intuitive information in the body, clairessence, to smell intuitive information. If you're like, what? I'm like, let me tell you, I've smelled many a rancid nut at potluck parties. So then there's taste as well, clairgustance or gustians, depending on how you spell it. And then there's clair knowing or claircognizance, which is just the ability to know. And most of us are like, me please, me please, me please, right? So those are our clairs. Now, what about the other spiritual gifts that many of us aspire to? That could be telekinesis, that could be teleportation, that could be telepathy. Telepathy is actually relatively easy, but that's besides the point. So we think, oh my gosh, I must be much more enlightened if I can do these things. Or we have this belief that if somebody's really good at these things, that they're wiser, they're more enlightened. And I got to tell you, in my experience, that's not true. So there's this movie, I believe that Oprah Winfrey had supported it, or there's somebody that she had on her show. Anyway, so literally overnight, this average everyday guy, right, could see things, very clairvoyant, like woke up with it. Now, some of us are like, envious, or was, envious, like, oh man, that'd be so cool, right? To see ghosts and aliens and all these sorts of things and pixels and energies that are out there. However, for this man, it was quite distressing. Quite distressing. Now, just watching him through this movie, watching his actions, his beliefs, his thoughts, clearly he hadn't really thought too much about his spiritual well-being, or, if I may be so judgmental to say, he didn't seem wise to me. So here's where it gets tricky. There are spiritual and energy healers and spiritual teachers who are incredibly gifted. Incredibly gifted. And because they're gifted, oftentimes we will assume that they are gifted and wise. They may not be. Meaning that you still have to discern for yourself what is best and for the highest good for you. I'll give you a practical example. This is kind of a mishmash of a number of cases, but so the client hires the psychic, right, for guidance, and the psychic says, "You have cancer. You better go to the doctor and get some therapy for that." And scares the living bejesus out of that person. Now, there's a way in which you could convey concerns, and also that does not create fear or unnecessary fear in the other person. Now, believe me, I've made mistakes as a medical doctor, okay? I've done the thing where I'm like, you need to get this work done right now, that kind of thing. And I do regret that. Learning to forgive myself around those things. However, psychics and other, very, very claired people will sometimes end up with a bit of an ego around that. And you'll see them sometimes on, radio shows, telesummits, that kind of thing. Oh, I've been clairvoyant since I was 3, or, oh, I could see spirits and ghosts and da-da-da since whatever, right? And we go, oh, wow. It's still, you can say, oh, wow, right? But don't necessarily, or I would advise you not to just hinge on every single word that person says because they're gifted or talented, because they may not be wise. They may not be wise. Now, that being said, one of my intuition teachers, Laura Day, she's very practical Jewish woman. She's really hysterical too, in many ways. So she has many books, and she taught us. She says, if you do see something that is really concerning, like cancer or something like that, or that you see their loved one, their uncle, whatever, is going to die, she says, please do not tell them, oh, your uncle's going to die next week. Okay, she says, that is not kind. What you could say instead, though, is like, wow, I'm seeing your uncle in the picture, and that perhaps it may be helpful to reconnect with your uncle, and rekindle that relationship. Tell me about that, right? That is very different from your uncle's going to die, you better talk to him soon. Because you don't know what's going on in the family necessarily. Most psychics are, and even intuitives, will see a piece of the puzzle, but not the entire puzzle. So we need to put it in context, and also, just because someone's really good at readings does not mean they're good with communicating what they're seeing or feeling. And they may not even respect or know that they could tune into alternate realities and timelines that may or may not be that person's dominant one, or maybe they're not a resonant match or shifting or timeline jumping next week or tomorrow, right? So they're in a different timeline altogether. And my mother was told very young from a psychic that, she would have children, they would die. I mean, all sorts of things. So, and yeah, so she was scared for many, many years because of what the psychic said. So the point is that just because someone is gifted does not necessarily mean they're wise. Now that also means that you are totally 100% responsible for what it is that you believe. And it can change. Like my beliefs change sometimes daily because of new information. And that's okay. And perhaps you can be really easy on yourself as well when your ideas change. So let's do a TOLPAKAN Healing Activation this week to support ourselves in this realm, to let go of the beliefs that we are less than all those who are highly gifted, as well as being okay with desiring to have those gifts as well and accessing those gifts. Some of us, myself included, have had these gifts kind of tuned down in this particular lifetime or timeline so that we can learn to tune into our innate wisdom and inner guidance through other ways, divine muscle testing being one of them. So if I were very, very, clairvoyant or clairsentient, or I'm always saying, oh, guides are telling me this, guides are telling me that, or, I see this thing, in front of you, XYZ, I see the ghost, I see he's 8 foot tall, right? Whatever, right? I might wow people, but you see, it would be harder for me to teach people who aren't in that space to tune into their wisdom because I have these clairs tuned down to some degree, except for clairsentience. Then I can teach it because I'm just like everybody else. So that's how I perceive it anyway, and the way that serves me. So let's do the TOLPAKAN Healing Activation. In this case, let's go ahead and just balance your clairs, because sometimes people have too much of one thing, and or it may not be balanced with ascension upgrades or expansions, and it could be really uncomfortable. And let's go ahead and make sure that the team, the source team around you, is of 100% truth, love, and light. So we're going to do kind of a two-part activation because we have had cases where a very, very, very clairaudient person is listening to someone who they think is a guide, and that is not a guide. It is spirit of the dark posing as a guide. And, they may be having a really good function. So we can learn discernment. So let's go ahead and do this activation. Let's get into stillness through observing internal movement. If you'd like, you can rub your hands, get some energy going, relax. Close your eyes if it's safe for you to do so. Focus on the body. Feel any energy or movement in the body. Follow that flow wherever it goes while I speak the TOLPAKAN Healing Activation. If you'd like to receive it, just internally say yes. It won't work for you if it's not for the highest and greatest good. Here we go. I now command that your clairs, all the different clairs and spiritual gifts, be balanced and optimized in the highest and best way, harmonious with each other, with ease, speed, and grace in all timelines where you exist or allow. I now command that your source team, God team, guide team be made of those who are only 100% aligned with divine love, light, and truth. Any that are not, be healed, but removed permanently from service. And that you be given source team members that have infinite healing powers, the maximum allowable for your level of evolution, and may they add and expand as you expand. I now command that any specialists that you require or could use in this lifetime to help you with your mission and your healing be added to your team now. Now command this happen with ease, speed, and grace in the highest and best way. For this and all the blessings we give our thanks and gratitude, so be it and so it is. Go take a breath in and out. feel free to open your eyes if they were closed. Love for you to give me a comment below. How did that feel in the body? We did kind of a two-part activation today. Number one was to balance your clairs. Number two was to up-level your God team, source team, guide team. So I'd love to hear from you, and go ahead and comment below. And thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, much love. Bye for now. Hey, thanks for watching my video. And if it resonated with you, would love for you to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, perhaps the notification bells. Every time I do a new video, you'll be notified. And feel free to share it with anyone that you think might resonate with that message too. In the meantime, would love to connect with you in my light medicine community. We have free mini healings every month and all sorts of really fun things that we do. Not only that, but also we get to lovingly share and support each other in a safe space. It's free to join. I'll put the link below, and I look forward to seeing you there. And remember to introduce yourself when you first come in so we can all say hi. All right. Thanks so much, and we'll see you there.